Hello, everyone. This is Manny with Really Dicey, and today I'm here with.
Hi, I'm Banana Chan. I am the owner and co-founder of a small box board game and RPG publishing company, and I am the co-designer of an anthology of LARPs called Suburban Consumption of the Monstrous.
Hey, my name is Sadia Bies. I use they, them pronouns. I am the owner and co-founder of a LARP and video game production company called Ratworm Games, and I am a co-writer of Suburban Consumption of the Monstrous.
So, yes, today we're going to talk about suburban consumption of the monstrous. Um, so, my first question: what exactly is this?
That's a good question. It is a collection of 14 horror LARPs written by me and Banana. There are a bunch of really experimental games. They are like mostly fall within the American freeform LARP tradition. And they also take a lot of inspiration from tabletop RPGs and kind of like experiential design as well, to kind of create a lovely dinner party horror experience.
Yeah, and the collection comes with a bunch of different kinds of games. Even though they're all set around a dinner table set in suburbia, they do have different themes and settings. So you could be playing as a dysfunctional family, or you could be playing at a Y2K New Year's Eve party. We have several different kinds of games in this anthology.
Okay. Before we talk about some of the stories and interesting things about this project, I just want to ask. So, when I think of LARP, I think of people dressing up in medieval costumes and going away for the weekend. Um, and your project looks like a combination, a little bit of that, and a little bit of those mystery party dinners, if that makes sense. Um, is that um, the idea of the game? How would you explain I guess you could say the mechanics of it?
So I would say that the type of LARP that this uses is called American Freeform LARP, which is a little different from what most people know of as LARP. Most people think of boffer LARPs, which is using the foam swords and the fireballs. That's usually what people think of when they think of LARPing. This uses American Freeform, which is similar in the sense that you are embodying your character physically. So you are your character for the entirety of the game. But the differences are that costuming and props are minimal, though you can still have those. You can definitely, dress up if you wanted to, and you can definitely, integrate as many props as you want, but they are minimal. And the preparation time for something like this is a lot shorter. It's usually just like a pick up and go type of thing. And they range from about, say, like 1 hour to 4 hours long. So they're relatively short and they don't require a lot of people to play.
Yeah, when you're thinking about like weekend LARPs, which is like the idea most people have of LARP, one of the things I really like to think about, and Banana too, is like making LARP seem more accessible. Like you don't have to go away for a whole weekend and commit all of this money and time to something you're not sure you're going to necessarily enjoy. Like LARP can happen in your home with really similar resources as like running a tabletop RPG session. So most of these games actually don't require much more from you than hosting a tabletop RPG session in your home. The main difference is instead of describing what your character does, you just do it with your body. And we're not going to ask you to like do a backflip in these games. Like you are playing characters where you can physically do the things those characters can do.
You mentioned that anyone can pick it up and quickly play it. I love role playing, and I have some friends that love acting and role playing in the games. But also have some friends that are sort of new, so they're very new to the idea of acting. Would you say that this game is probably better for advanced actors slash role players? You feel that it's that newbies can get into it as well?
I would say it depends on the game in the anthology. Some of them I think are for more experienced players, definitely. And it's definitely easier to get into LARP if you have either some acting background or some tabletop RPG or other gaming background, just because you're more familiar with the mechanics or you're used to like doing a little funky character voice at your table or whatever it is. But like a lot of them are like mechanically very simple. So I think it's a similar barrier of entry to like your first D&D session where it's like getting over like the embarrassment that you're going to be doing something kind of silly with your friends for a couple hours. But I don't think it's more difficult to get into than like other forms of gaming, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that if you are interested in immersive theater, if you're interested in theater games in general, this might be something that you could be interested in as well, just because like a lot of the tools that we have are inspired by immersive theater or theater games.
I love the stories. I was reading the Kickstarter earlier, and I love the different stories you have there. It seems like, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Some of the stories are like, I don't know if the words quiet horror is the right word. The idea that everything seems fine, and then suddenly like the notch of reality changes a little bit, and then everything gets twisted and more diabolical. Um, uh, if I may ask, what were some of your inspirations behind these stories?
Oh, totally. Me and Banana are both huge horror movie buffs. Um, so I feel like one of the early like parts of our process was just like messaging back and forth, like, "Hey, have you seen this horror movie? Have you seen that horror movie?" um, I don't know, Banana. What were your some of your early inspirations?
So my early inspirations were definitely along the lines of films like Coherence, which is a parallel universe type of movie, which also is kind of like an actual play of a LARP, if you think about it. So the movie itself wasn't scripted. The actors had like a few things that they knew about, but the rest of it wasn't scripted, and they just like put it together. And it's a fantastic movie. It's really, really good. So Coherence is definitely one of them. I would say The Invitation is another one of our games is actually inspired by The Invitation, which is about a group of friends who get invited to a dinner party, and then lo and behold, the people who are hosting the dinner party are trying to recruit the other friends into a cult. So that's basically what the game is about as well. So it's very much inspired by that. It has a video element to it as well, where they show a video recruiting or trying to recruit the players into this cult. I think We Are What We Eat, or We Are What We Are. That's what it's called. We
Yeah.
Are What We Are is definitely another inspiration, I think. That is a movie about a family of regularly seeming people, but it turns out they also partake in a little bit of cannibalism, which is a common theme, I think, in some of these games.
Yeah, we have quite a few games involving cannibalism. You know, it's horror and we're eating in most of the games, so it was bound to come up.
Of the stories that you have there, is there any of them that's your personal favorite?
I feel like it changes like day to day, like what I'm like most excited about. One of my favorites is What Lies Beneath, just because it was one of the first games I came up with where like I was really excited about some of the mechanical aspects of it. So What Lies Beneath is a game about a family whose youngest family member has recently died and is now haunting them as a ghost. It has a lot of like influence from Hereditary and like the famous like dinner scene monologue. So it's really about like the tension of this family because of their like inability to address this death and like process their grief. The dead youngest is played by someone who hides beneath the table for the whole game, and can possess people by like grabbing their ankles or like let the other players know that someone's lying by like scratching on the underside of the table. So I think that one's one of my favorites for like a combination of like this really intense human drama and also just like really unsettling, creepy things that people do not normally do.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about that game in particular, too, is that it emulates jump scares really well. So you have this person who's like, underneath the table, you're just like chatting along normally. And then you always have this anticipation of like something is about to happen. That player is about to do something, right? And so you don't know when it's going to happen, but when it does happen, you're just like, it's like a jolt where you're just like, oh my gosh, like, that I did not expect that. And I feel like that's like a really interesting game, like when we play tested it. Another game that I really enjoyed writing and playing was The Eve of Y2K, which is about basically the end of the world. So what happens, between people when they're put in a stressful situation, and they're at like this New Year's Eve party. Everyone has their own baggage. Everyone has their own secrets and problems, and they are required to make a toast. So each player has to make a toast with a glass of champagne or whatever beverage you choose to use. And when they do their toast, they pick up a card which tells them that a parallel version of themselves is doing something else, and a parallel universe version of themselves is doing something else, and they have to sort of react to that, but still try to keep calm and maintain composure, because they are at a Y2K party. A New Year's Eve party. And a video plays in the background, which we didn't realize at the time when we were playtesting this, but it does bring about like a lot of existential dread because the video that we have is actually from the Millennium Ball Drop. And during that time, they had several interviews of people that are famous figures now, that were famous then, but they weren't as like famous as they are now. For example, like Jeff Bezos and like all these other people. And like knowing what you know now versus like what people didn't know back then, it's like a total, it's really weird and like mind-boggling playing it through. And then the game, the world may or may not end.
Well, I'm sold. But the Kickstarter. Tell us about the Kickstarter. What are your plans for like stretch goals and things like that?
Yeah, totally. So we kind of are like keeping a lot of the stretch goals a little quiet until we get closer to them to announce. But one of the main stretch goals is to get a hardcover version of the book. We're doing something really special. We're doing like a transparent vellum dust jacket that I've done separate art for that like overlays the original cover art. And we're also have more stretch goals for art, more stretch goals for like a full color book. Our artist team is really incredible. It's 7 artists, including myself, with people like Trevor Henderson, Koei Kuhn, Tom Horseman. I'm very excited about our artist team. I'm going to be tweeting more about them soon. Yeah, and we also are hopefully going to have some guest writers, but you'll have to wait a little bit longer for us to announce them.
So we have a few different physical reward things that I think are really cool. One of them is a poison vial, and also it's like this silver metallic sort of like necklace thing that has like, that you can keep whatever in it. It doesn't have to actually be poison. There's that, and also a full cutlery set. So there is a cutlery set that we are including as a reward as well. That is gold, and hopefully we're going to get someone to engrave the tooth symbol, the tooth logo on it as well. Sadia also has some haunted houses that they're painting, which I'm really excited for. And I'm also painting some small paintings of fruit with teeth.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of special physical rewards that will hopefully happen. Yeah, I'm really excited if anyone gets the like super high tier to paint some haunted house miniatures. They'll come with their own little story about like why the house is haunted, and they'll each be like unique and different.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time. Again, right now this is on Kickstarter. And I'll have a link in the description below. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay safe out there, get your shots, and have a great day.